Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicole, and I'm the parent support worker for the Niagara Catholic District School Board Early On Child and Family Centers. I am here today for our weekly coffee and conversation in which all parents, grandparents, guardians, and caregivers are welcome. Our program topics revolve around ensuring that you feel well, confident, and present in your parenting or caregiving role. As always, if you are unable to sit with me now, you are welcome to warm up your coffee and sit with me at a later, more convenient time. We now post all of our video content to our YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe and stay up to date with our videos. I want to start this week off with a practice of gratitude. I felt very stressed leaving for work this morning as I dug my car out of a foot of snow. And then I got to work and I noticed that a colleague of mine was also having a stressful morning. So if you're feeling the weight of the snow on your shoulders this morning, let's remember to be thankful. I'm thankful that I got to work safely and on time despite the foot of snow I dug my car out of. I'm thankful that I'm able to warm myself up with this hot drink. And I am thankful to my grandparents who actually donated me this new mug just for my live coffee and conversations. It says, "Make it happen, so let's make gratitude happen." That's what this mug will mean to me. I am so very blessed. So please remember to take a moment today to slow down and find something to be grateful for. But let's get started with this week's topic, which is self-regulation. So what is self-regulation? Remember last week we had an example of a frustrated and angry child who was unable to break apart two pieces of Lego, and therefore he had a bit of a tantrum. I mentioned the importance in praising that child's ability to feel emotion and then educating them on proper behavior when they're feeling angry. AKA, let's find a different way to be angry rather than throwing the Lego pieces at the wall. The ability to self-regulate would allow that child to feel the anger, but maybe ask an adult for help instead. An article for Positive Psychology by Courtney E. Ackerman presents self-regulation in a very interesting way. Our ability to self-regulate might be the very thing that baffles young people. For example, why don't we eat cake for breakfast? And why don't we skip out on work just because we don't feel like going or we don't feel like digging our car out of 1 foot of snow? Why don't we just do whatever it is that our inner desires tell us to do? Ackerman tells us that we can save that cake for after dinner and make our way into the office despite our despair because of what we call self-regulation. More specifically, that is thought to be behavioral self-regulation, the ability to feel one way but act another. Feeling like I could eat cake for every meal of the day, because I could, but being conscious of my goals in life to be healthy and feel good long term. However, emotional regulation involves the influence you have over your emotions. As simple as it comes, in her book Love Builds Brains, Jean Clinton defines self-regulation as an ability to be the boss of one's own attention, emotions, and behavior at an appropriate level for one's age and culture. So that's a really big one, an ability to be the boss of our own attention, emotion, and behavior. I love that. Let's be the boss of our own selves. So she mentions, and I'll use this as a simple way to help you see self-regulation, if you're listening to me, fully focused and engaged in what I'm saying, then you're self-regulated because your impulse behaviors are inhibited to give your attention to our coffee and conversation and the interaction that we're having right now. So in a book by David Bjorklund and Carlos Hernandez called Child and Adolescent Development, an Integrated Approach, this is a textbook from my school days, the authors referred to research that actually tells us that infants as young as 3 months are able to regulate their emotions, which might sound super surprising, but when you start to think about it, it makes sense that a baby can self-soothe by sucking on a pacifier or their thumb. Emotional self-regulation can be seen late in the first year of life as infants demonstrate shared attention and social referencing. So this becomes really important for our children because even at the young age of 1, they are looking up to see to others to see how the proper way to act is. I'm feeling very cold this morning, so I'm going to take lots of sips of my warm drink. So the more our children understand emotions and have been exposed to this emotional vocabulary, they'll start to have a better understanding of the causes and consequences of their emotions. This is why last week's session was so important. If you haven't watched it yet, be sure to check it out. This leaves you with a pretty big role in ensuring that your minis are well exposed to emotional regulation and proper behavior. So Dr. Stuart Shanker is a renowned self-regulation researcher who has spent a lot of time working on ensuring that his SelfReg program meets the adults that surround children's lives, whether that be me as a parent support worker, you as a parent, or communities as a whole. So with a team, he provides a program that he calls SelfReg, and their philosophy to SelfReg is adaptable past their program. So their guiding values state that all people are capable of self-regulation, no matter their age or ability. There is no one way to self-regulate. There are no quick fixes. Self-regulation will be a continual and reflective practice. And self-regulation is important for everyone, not just children and youth to learn. So there is a document called Calm, Alert, and Happy, which was written by Dr. Stuart Shanker and applied by our Ontario Ministry of Education. In this document, he reminds us of something that's very important when thinking about your child's self-regulation. Self-regulation is not self-control. I will repeat that. Self-regulation is not self-control. It is not like a muscle in which you might have an internal strength to resist an impulse, nor is self-regulation compliance. A calm child in a grocery store might only be calm because you offered them ice cream if they behaved while you did groceries. Controlling their behavior in this scenario is likely a result of wanting to obtain the reward of ice cream as opposed to wanting to behave well. Dr. Shanker argues through research that this idea of punishment and reward isn't necessarily building the kids we hope it to be. Instead of punishing an unregulated child for misbehaving or promising a reward with proper behavior, we want to consider why the child is misbehaving, and we want to encourage the child to understand why they should behave well. So Dr. Shanker reviewed 3 key steps to self-regulation. Number 1, reduce the child's stress level. So make sure that they are well fed, well slept, and getting exercise. Start there. Number 2, help your child understand what it feels like to be regulated and ready to learn. This would mean that they are feeling calm, focused, and alert. It's important for the child to understand what this looks like and what this feels like to be able to refer back to it in times of distress. And number 3, teach them how to return to that state when needed, and teach them how to manage or avoid the situations that might negatively influence their ability to remain calmly focused and alert. So the second goal here is really important. As Dr. Shanker mentioned, a large number of Canadian children lack this basic aspect of self-awareness. So they need you. As a parent, you are employed to help your child with this. Dr. Shanker provides some really great free resources for parents to learn about self-regulation, and I will provide some of these links for you in the comments. But my goal today is just to get you thinking about self-regulation and how it looks in your child's world. Another way that we talk about self-regulation within our framework at the Niagara Catholic District School Board is through the zones of regulation. We touched upon this briefly in weeks past, but what does the zones of regulation really mean? So the zones of regulation is a curriculum created by Leah M. Coopers. It was designed to foster self-regulation and emotional awareness. When the curriculum is implemented, children develop social, emotional, and sensory regulation through a demonstration of 4 distinct colored zones. It is a framework that our child and youth workers here at the school board and our parent support workers, like me, at the Early On, provide children and families with. Virtually, however, I use it alongside Dr. Shanker's work as a guideline in educating you on emotional literacy and self-regulation for you to use with your children to enhance their early development. Coopers noted that more than just the kids benefit from the zones of regulation curriculum. As I said earlier, self-regulation is not only for the kids. She stated that parents and teachers using the zones of regulation reported better insight into their own states and became more aware of tools they can use to regulate. And this is so true. As I said earlier, we can use this self-regulation concept too. I want you to think for a minute of times where you have really needed some self-regulation tips as an adult. Or perhaps you've noticed when a friend, family member, or stranger needed to self-regulate. For example, if you've ever worked retail, you will have a good idea of a customer who is not self-regulated. You tell them that an item cannot be returned and they completely lash out over a $10 item. That maladaptive behavior is likely a result of a poorly regulated system. With self-regulation, kids and adults alike will be able to remain calm and organized to successfully negotiate a frustrating or stressful event. I can admit this morning while I was cleaning my car, I most certainly needed to self-regulate, and I did not. But here I am now, self-regulated and feeling grateful. Anyhow, our overview of emotional literacy and self-regulation is really just to get that conversation started in your home to prepare you and your children for what's to come. But according to the curriculum, in order for ourselves and our children to really reap the benefits of the zones curriculum, we must utilize 3 different neurological components. 1 is sensory processing, 2 is executive functioning, and 3 is emotional regulation. So I want to give you a quick example of these items. Sensory processing is the unconscious process of responding to and controlling various stimuli. So this is like the ability to ignore someone else's phone alarm, but being able to become alert to the sound of a fire alarm. Likewise, sensory processing is probably the culprit for those times when you've turned off the music in the car because you were lost. Many people joke about this as being a little bit silly, but it's actually a decision you've subconsciously made to place all of your focus and attention on the road. You might notice as well your child struggling with sensory processing when they simply cannot rest during nap time because they can't filter out the noise of their family members who are awake and playing in the next room. Executive functioning involves our conscious control of our thoughts and actions. So sensory processing is unconscious, executive functioning is a conscious control of our thoughts and actions. These functions can vary from inhibition, which is the ability to not scream in church, or attention shifting, which could be your ability to watch a film without letting the macaroni on the stovetop burn. And then finally, we have emotional regulation, which is simply the ability to have influence over your emotions. We spoke of this earlier as being something that even infants can do to a certain extent as they suck on a pacifier to self-soothe. But with age comes the ability to determine the size of the problem, motivate, and understand others' perspectives. So with this being said, it is important to note that you shouldn't expect your children to understand how to do these things. They are simply stepping stones for you in teaching this information to your children to prep them for when they are neurologically developed enough to actively self-regulate. This timeline will be different for everyone, so have patience and just continue utilizing the tools and vocabulary that I provide you with your children. As discussed last week, there are 4 zones of self-regulation presented in the curriculum that describe different states of alertness and emotions. They are the blue zone, which categorizes low states of awareness, like when you're feeling bored or tired. There's the green zone, which categorizes a regulated state of awareness, like when we are happy, calm, and focused. The yellow zone categorizes a heightened state of alertness with some level of control, so when we're feeling frustrated, stressed, or maybe nervous. And then finally, we have the red zone, which categorizes an extremely heightened state of alertness or very intense feelings without a sense of control. This is like feeling super angry, feeling rage or feeling panic about something. The colors can be compared to street lights, where the green light means ready to go, yellow light means caution, slow down, and the red light means stop. And blue zone can kind of be compared to a pit stop to recharge. And it's important to note, and I will continue to emphasize, that there are no bad zones. We will all find ourselves within these zones throughout the day. This is normal and okay. Our conversations about the zones focus on helping categorize our emotions and feelings and how to regulate these states. So it kind of gives us some common language for how you are feeling and to increase your awareness. Utilizing the colored categorization of emotions might help your child visualize their emotions in a concrete way. I will provide some links in the comments for you to further your zones learning. In next week's Coffee and Conversation, I will use Dr. Shanker's work on SelfReg and Leah Cooper's work on the zones of regulation to outline some more specific examples of self-regulation and offer some strategies on how to get from the red zone back to the green zone. I will leave you with that for today. As always, let's work together and support each other. All comments and suggestions are welcome. Later on today, my ECE colleague Diane will be posting more activities that you can perform with your Mindful Mini, so please watch out for this. I hope you find a way to enjoy the snow today, see the beauty in the snow that has landed on the trees. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will talk to you soon.